Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video on this channel. Today we're talking about pros and cons of glass enclosures, so make sure you stay all until the end to get a better information on these glass tanks I have in my shelf behind me. The reason number one for the pro is, of course, they're looking extremely nice and sleek, so that's basically it. You can't really beat a nice glass enclosure. There is no single other plastic or acrylic enclosure which looks as unique and as outstanding as glass enclosures. That's basically almost the second pro, is the availability of light. So when you put lights on top of a glass enclosure, of course there is a lot of light going through the glass, and much more of course than when you use plastic tops. Of course there are differences in plastic ones. There are ones which are more see-through and others are more on the milky way of the plastic side, so then of course not that much light is going through the enclosure, but that's not going to happen when you use glass enclosures. So as I'm filming this video, we're almost hitting 10,000 subscribers. That's due to the fact that we have a lot of people from the Philippines here, so shout out to the Philippines, great community over there. Make sure you share this channel around the world, show it to everyone who is interested in tarantulas, filming and documenting them in the wild and showing you some tarantula aspects from the hobby. There will be a giveaway very soon, so we will celebrate the 10,000 subscriber. Of course, when it's going to happen, I have no idea when, but just keep that in mind, that there will be a tarantula giveaway where the whole world basically can participate in. So let's continue with the video. So number two as a pro for glass tank is of course that there is almost no chance for escapees. So because of the silked part together of a glass enclosure and because of the front opening, which is most of the time guillotine-like, there is no chance that a tarantula can escape, and there is no chance that a tarantula can actually lift this front glass to escape the tank. So that's basically my second point for pro. Glass tanks are almost all of the time escapee proof, as you wish. So number three is on the pro side as well. You have an extreme high duration. Glass is a material which lives for many years, and you don't really have to like switch your enclosure. You can clean them easily. That's another pro for the glass tanks. They have this amazing structure. Of course, almost every single glass enclosure has it, depending on the quality of course. But if you have dirt on the glass enclosure because a tarantula pooped on it, or you have leftovers from the water spray in the glass enclosure, of course you are easily bring it away when cleaning it. So that's the reason number three, extreme high durability of a glass enclosure. And that brings me to the fourth point, is not only the high durability, but of course the high longevity. So you can keep these glass enclosures for a very long amount of time. I have some glass enclosures which I still use for over 10 years and they're still nice, clean looking, and you can clean them extremely easily, so they have always these fresh tone, so they almost look like newly bought in the end. So for those of you who are new here on this channel, we're mainly focusing on tarantulas in the wild, giving some insights on how they really live in the nature. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out some of our videos on past field trips. Of course, some of them are way too cringeworthy because we just started filming, but maybe they're worth checking out for you. So make sure you scroll through the whole channel and get some information about tarantulas in the wild. Subscribe and leave a comment down below. So reason number one to not use glass enclosures is because they are very heavy duty, especially when you get bigger glass enclosures and you try to make them more bioactive as the ones I have in my background. Then of course each and every single glass enclosure is going to be heavy, and you have to carry it from your place to the next place when you move, for example, or when you have a new shelf. You have to make sure that the shelf is extremely well built so that there is no like bending happening, or in worst case, because of all the glass enclosures you're going to use, that the whole shelf is collapsing due to the heavy weight. So reason number one to not use glass enclosures, because they're way too heavy. Leave a comment down below on what you think about the glass enclosures and of course plastic and acrylic enclosures, and leave down in the comment what type of enclosure you are using. It's great to see more people from Europe and Germany on this channel, so also leave your recommendations down below. And of course I want to hear what the people from the US are using for their enclosures, so yeah, just leave a comment down below. There is no wrong or right, and I'd just like to hear your opinion on that. Reason number second, on the con side for glass enclosures, glass can break easily. You have to be aware of that. Glass is way more on the easier side to break than when you use plastic tops. And especially when you have other pets around, for example cats or little children, not that they're pets, but when you have someone around who can accidentally like crush the glass or enclosure you have, then it's probably better to not use glass enclosures, because on the worst side, glass will break when it falls down, and when you use a plastic top, most of the time the plastic top will not crush, and in the end will not crush the tarantula. So just keep in mind, and that has to be on the con side, glass will break easily, and therefore you have to be more cautious with it. So reason number 5, on the con side, most of the time when you order or buy a glass enclosure, the ventilation is very much set, and that is one of the major differences when you use plastic enclosures, because when on the glass side you are there, you don't have the chance. That sounded like Yoda could say it, but anyway, when you are on the glass side and you have a glass enclosure, then the ventilation is given at a certain level, and most of the time you don't have the tools that you can switch the ventilation of the glass enclosure. So make sure you order the right one for the right tarantula, and if you have one for, let's say, a terrestrial or fossorial species, you most of the time can't really use that enclosure for an arboreal tarantula, which uses maybe some different type of ventilation. Just keep that in mind when you're having or ordering a glass enclosure, that it fits the right species. Reason number 4, 5 and 6 on the con side for having glass enclosures, there aren't really any. In the end, I just really enjoy using glass enclosures. Of course you can discuss about the eco-friendliness of glass enclosures, but in the end I think they're more valuable because you buy them once in a lifetime most of the time, and you can keep them for a very long time. You can clean them way more easy than, for example, acrylic ones, in my opinion. But of course there are differences, and they're hard to get in certain countries of the world. I know that in the US, for example, it's not common at all to have glass enclosures for tarantulas. Acrylic and plastic ones are way more cheap. So on the other side here, in Europe and Switzerland, plastic and acrylic is way more expensive than glass, like extremely expensive. And of course acrylic is lightweight, and also of course there are different materials of acrylic, so probably in the near future there can be changes that in the end it is better to use acrylic ones, but for the moment I really want to stay with my glass enclosures, and you can easily isolate them as well. So also of course with every other enclosure you have, you can just put like styropor or other isolating material just right next to the glass enclosure. So when you are in a country where there is like not that high temperatures around, you can still isolate your enclosure for the tarantula. So let's summarize the pros and cons for glass enclosures for tarantulas once again. Of course, on the pro side, feature number 1, they're extremely nice and sleek looking. You can't go really better than a glass enclosure in my opinion for just design and style purposes. Then number 2, of course, there is almost no chance for escapees because of the heavy duty front glass, which the tarantula can't really lift. So that's reason number 2. The tarantula can't really escape from your glass enclosure. Reason number 3, there is extreme high aeration in the glass enclosure. You can clean them easily because the dirt gets off pretty nice. And in the end, you have reason number 4. the extreme longevity. You can keep these glass enclosures for a long period of time. I have some for over 10 years now, and they're still really okayish looking, and you can still have a nice collection of tarantulas in these enclosures without fearing that they don't look pretty in them. So that's basically it. And reason number 5, also of course because of the longevity, but also because of the materials used, the eco-friendliness. In my opinion, it's better to use glass enclosures due to the production value of glass, because you have to use sand. Of course, sand is used in the production of glass, and therefore it's a material and resource which was taken from the planet Earth somewhere. But in the end, in my opinion, it's probably better than using oil for producing plastic. So yeah, we can debate about that in the comment section if you want. So that's basically the summary of it. There are a few cons, of course. They're heavy duty and they can break. I know they're the obvious ones, but in the end, for me, they're just the best way to present tarantulas, not only to me, because in the end, I'm the one sitting in this enclosure room most of the time. So that's it for now. I think on the con side, there are not that many. On the pro side, there are more. And that's the reason why I just stick with these glass enclosures for a little bit longer, probably. One point I forgot to mention, but I just, sort of mentioned it, is the price tag. Here in Europe, and especially Switzerland, it's way cheaper to get glass enclosures than acrylic ones, which do have like a whole good see-through plastic. Because they are extremely expensive when you go the acrylic and plastic route. So that's another reason to use glass, at least here in Europe or Switzerland, to be more precise. And the last one to summarize on the con side, limited ventilation options. If you ordered one with a given ventilation, you can't really change that in the end, other than you have the tools for it to like drill through glass or other like these of the materials. So make sure you order the right ventilation for your enclosure and for the tarantula species you have there. So just because I'm a big fan of using glass enclosures doesn't mean I don't use plastic enclosures at all. I have a lot of tarantulas in plastic enclosures, especially the younger ones, the ones who are not adult yet. So just keep that in mind. You need the right enclosure for the right spider and age of the spider. So I tend to use the glass enclosures only for adult tarantulas. And of course I have breeding projects going on, which some from time to time do better in plastic enclosures other than in glass enclosures. But that has to be linked with something other than the material used, but we'll go through that in another video. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next video.